I'm Min준홍. I am a globalist who is visually describing various city sites in our age. 네, 안녕하세요. 밀라논나의 둘째 아들 민준홍입니다.
엄마 줄 거야?
안전벨트 하셨죠?
네. 우리 아드님은 어디서 영감을 얻으세요?
도시의 삶? Through this exhibition, I wish to the audience enjoying my various trials of describing modern society. When we watch some kind of thumbnails in YouTube episodes, this kind of rack signals pop off.
So, welcome to the Globalists.
Thank you for having me.
So, we are here at your first solo exhibition in Korea. It's quite amazing.
Thank you very much.
Tell us about the exhibition.
So basically, as you kindly introduced my show, this is my solo exhibition, Nevertheless, the Windmill Runs in 이길이구갤러리 in Seoul. And after spending my 10 years experience of living and working as a visual artist in London, Berlin, Seoul, Milan, Paris, and New York. Through this show, I try to deliver my sensual impression of modern society through diverse mediums such as paintings, drawings, videos, floor-based site-specific installation, and vast realist wall-based installation. So through this exhibition, I wish to the audience who visited this place just enjoying my various trials of describing modern societies.
So, you named it Nevertheless, the Windmill Runs. What does that mean?
There was the Hungarian-born American philosopher whose name is Karl Polanyi, and his book, The Great Transformation in 1944, he uses the word the Satanic mills to describe the capitalism society. It's a bit scary, isn't it? But in his book, the author explained our capitalism where we're living in as some kind of Satanic mills grind all of the positive part of the human spirit, such as altruism and moral standard and the sense of community ground into the size of atomic and dust. And when I read his book, I immediately related with his vision. That is why I used his Satanic mills as the reference for my title, The Windmill.
But windmill is much more of a generic, humanistic kind of.
Yeah, exactly. So we are all living in the capitalism system, and no matter how we try to amend and fix the system, all of our trials failed so far. And at the same time, we benefited from the accomplishment of technology and the financial accomplishment from the capitalism society. So I try to deal with my complicated impression of this contradictory situation. That is why I combined windmills and nevertheless the windmill runs.
So, it's almost like even though we seem to be heading into this Satanic or maybe difficult capitalistic society, nevertheless, there's a humanistic part of it that still survives.
Yeah, we live in there and we work there, we existing there. So I'm trying to explain some kind of inevitable life path in this big society.
You as an artist show that feeling through the urban landscapes. It's a very industrial kind of feeling that your work has. How do you use that to express your feeling about urban cities?
Well, it is not easy to say like those kind of components from cityscape fascinated me. we are all city dwellers, aren't we? And I'm also one of us. And I was born and had living in Seoul for 30 years. And because of my life circumstances, since I was a child, I was able to suffocated by the fierce competitive atmosphere and the fast lifestyle in Seoul. And those kind of my life condition makes me experience like chronic anxiety and unstable mind like everybody in this world. And those kind of all of my art practice, such as constantly making some two-dimensional works and three-dimensional works, is kind of my gesture or behave, trying to stand up against of those kind of unsettled mental status.
In your paintings, as well as your installations, you seem to be using what seems like construction,
Of course.
materials. How did you select that as your motive for your art?
If I want to explain that entire process, I'd better share some very detailed entire process of my
Give
daily
us an
routine.
example, yes. Give us an
So
example.
if I describe my one-day routine, I have a studio in south part of London, Brixton. And from my place, I normally walk down to my studio place to save horrible, expensive transportation fee in London. And normally it takes 40 minutes and 50 minutes. And on the journey, I was easily meet the wasted object and the wasted materials on the street, such as like a construction site and the refurbishing the properties. And I naturally just grabbed them and bring them down to the studio.
Physically take them,
Literally and physically.
physically grab construction trash and
Exactly.
take it back to your studio.
Yeah, sometimes I collect small size objects such as kitchen utensils like fork, spoons.
Thrown away.
Yeah, exactly.
Trash, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And sometimes comparatively bigger size of furniture, sometimes chair or cupboard or table. And firstly, I just disassemble them and clean them with the rags.
Okay.
And
right.
after that, I reassembled them by using mentally picture the city site in my brain. And after that, as you can see, I put some meticulous and repeated pen drawing on the surface of the reassembled object.
They're all different.
Yeah,
Some are wood, some are metal, some are plastic.
exactly.
And that's what you use to make these the installations that you see.
Literally our second-handed artist.
Really?
After finishing the ballpoint pen drawing, I coat with the acrylic painting to describe the various visual references the real world. And when I have an opportunity to present my works, I designed the arrangement of my installation according to this kind of site-specific condition.
I see. I also see in the midst of your urban designs a lot of surprising things. I saw a sneaker, cats. It doesn't seem to be quite a part of that urban metal landscape. Why do you mix these kind of different motives?
I did experience pandemic era from 2020 to 2021 in London. And the only experience I was able to deal with is just scrolling down the monitor from the smartphone and laptop like everyone else.
That's all we could do.
Yeah, and at that time, London had a very harsh lockdown situation. So I stayed in my tiny studio flat in 24 hours, 7 days, and just explored the online images. And as we all know, we just exposed ourselves to the flood of the social media and the OTT services. We just soaked in ourselves into the unfiltered images and very controversial images. So I decided to use not just in urban patterns and the construction site and all of the random images from like religious images to the very commercial images as my visual resource, because I thought this could be another symptom of our contemporary world. So I just unleash my ability as an artist as much as possible and utilized all of the existence of the visual resource in my practice.
They do seem like visuals that you would see if you're scrolling through various things. There's sort of a deconstruction of a lot of visuals. As an artist, having a philosophy about the world, I think, is really central for it to be reflected in your work. I also hear that you have philosophers who you sort of look at and use as your guide.
Han Byung-chul.
Han
Yeah, exactly. As far as I know, Professor Han Byung-chul is the German-based Korean philosopher. And he described our society as a fatigue society in his book. He described our society is like performance-oriented system.
Which means?
Like, everybody just evaluated by the outcomes and result. And all of the process and the individual trial for accomplishment just denied and disregarded. And according to his book, every individual who living in those kind of performance-based system easily faced with the feeling of void and the depression. And I realized I'm just anonymous one who can directly relate it with those kind of symptoms. And even that book's published in 2010. Now we're living in 2025. Even 15 years passes, nothing's changed in my thought. So I directly decide to utilize his sharp insight of modern society as my knowledge resources, my practice.
How did his thought process, how do you put it into your art?
So dopamine age is a part of his analysis, I guess. So trying to overcome my depression and feeling a void, I just stick to the commercial images on online images in a row. And as you can see, some models on the magazine, some influencer figures on the Instagram, even cats are all part of my addiction of these online images.
But I also notice the colors that you use, it's not quite psychedelic, it's not quite dark, it has a sort of something in the middle type of thing.
Really?
How do you choose the colors that you use in your work?
Well, if we want to talk about the color palette from the Retinal Chain reaction, the first line, the weather in London is horrible and hideous.
Yes.
Gray,
Yes, gray.
gruesome, windy. After finishing of winter season, we always welcome the great natural sky in London from April.
Yes.
So I'm able to see the various color range from white, yellow, pink, reddish, bluish, sometimes even greenish. And because of my occupational disease, when I come into the studio, I take out my smartphone. It take every corner of the London sky. I started produce this Retinal Chain reaction since last April 2024. And when I have a meeting or schedule in central London, I just soaked into the turmoils of busy city life and faced with the unexpected visual image, like billboard or neon sign, a mannequin or traffic light. Even that moment, I take out my smartphone and taking a picture at that moment. So after that, on my left hand, I hold all of the images from my London natural sky. And the right hand, I grab visual resources from central London. And I combined them together and reflect on the body of these art pieces.
Really? It's an amazing collection.
Thank you very much.
I also noticed a lot of Korean motifs, the statues, the patterns.
Obviously.
How do you use the Korean patterns in your work?
Well, since I started my career as a visual artist in London in 2016, it wasn't that difficult to meet the people insider of London art scene who just curious about my ethnical background because of my Asian figure. I was a bit uncomfortable and confused when people ask just about my ethnical background because, like I explained earlier, I just kind of city guy who was born in Seoul, another huge megapolis, and I was able to find out some sharp and direct connection to the traditional background of Korea. So I decided not to use those kind of traditional references for a while, especially because I'm working with the just urban site and the cityscape, which we can easily find every corner in this world.
In a way, you didn't want to be confined as a Korean artist, but an artist on your own without national boundaries.
So like you said, that is the moment I realized that I didn't have to put any kind of boundaries and distance from my visual research. After putting a distance from the Korean resources for a while, every time when I visit Seoul, I was easily arrived in a very traditional spot, such as Gyeongbok Palace or Changdo or Changgyeong Palace, even Joget Buddhist temple. They are all part of our natural urban site. And I realized that if I'm a Korean, I don't have to put certain shackle to categorizing this part should be the very traditional way. I should put them away. Or this part must be the urban site. I just use them as my resource. I just changed my mind and combined them all together. And I realized a fruitful and constructive research of this kind of combination of traditional way and the modern way could be the great fertilizer for my art practice.
So the boundaries between Korean and non-Korean, as well as maybe from the past to the present to the future,
Western, Eastern.
it's very artificial.
Exactly.
We did talk previously about your past. What part of your life in urban city led to, I want to do this? Are you a multidisciplinary person? You have an acting background or
This is embarrassing, but
your mother is much more famous than you are. Tell us about your mother. Does she influence your work?
저한테 우리 아들이 영감을 받는지는 모르겠어요. 한 번도 물어본 적이 없어서. 근데 참 내가 낳은 자식이지만 참